The 8th of November 2025, the 8th of November 2025, we've had a lovely day here in rural Ireland. It's 12 degrees centigrade, not too cold, but nice and warm. Ground is very wet, and of course it's dark now, about 20 past 5. That's winter time, and 20 past 6 summertime. But anyway, we're not complaining. Now, cattle are still out. It's too warm to put cattle in. Too warm. Now, just some news updates, bits and pieces, bits and bobs, folks. And I met a person today, a good bit away from where I live, maybe 30 miles, and he said that he would be on my side. He voted Steen, in the election gone by, presidential election, but he had an uncle and he was up and down to him and he was mentioning about the election. I don't know who I'll vote for. I think the uncle would have been a classical old Fine Gael supporter, and I'll not vote at all. And he brought him in and he just showed him me on the video, showed him off his smartphone, and he says, the uncle says, to collect me when you're going down, and I'll go down. And he went down and he voted Steen. He spoiled his vote. So there was one, you see. I reckon myself, of the 12.9 spoiled votes, that I counted for about 1%. And that'd be very, very good if I did that, 1%. In other words, were it not for me, it'd be 12.9%. And because of me, no, it was, no, if it were not for me, the count would be 11.9%, and because of me, it was 12.9%, or almost 13%. The rest was other people who did Trojan work. I think, yet and all, people draw to my attention. That's a serious kick to the government. It is a serious thing. That never happened before, that we can do that. And that shows you that even though we can't win elections, we can influence people. We certainly can. And that's what I'm influencing people from outside the political sphere. I didn't get elected to the Dáil, but I'm having a big impact anyway. Now, just a few bits of news anyway. The European police, Interpol, they're complaining they cannot deal with the crime anymore. But their answer to it is not more resources, catch villains, prosecute them, jail them, and all that. No, their answer to them is to give them more rules that they can use facial recognition from the streets. In other words, at the moment, if some fella hits a lady over the head and knocks her out for 2 hours and they have his face, the law in Germany is such that you cannot keep it due to stupid data protection. You can't do that. But their answer to the crime thing is to take your freedom and my freedom away. It's not to get out and do what I did when I was a policeman. Get stuck in and inquire around and find your person. I remember one time a man came in a County Monaghan station and he says that my calf was stolen. I said, you didn't look for her. I looked everywhere. She's gone, stolen. And I took an interest in her. Didn't I find the calf? I actually found the calf. A brat stole the calf. His own calf died or something, and he stole the calf. And I actually found the calf. I don't remember exactly, but I did a bit of pooching around and I found the calf. But that was real police work. But in Europe, that type of policing is gone. All that can do is IT and take our rights. Now, I have no problem with anyone's face being used by the police once it's deleted after a while, to solve a crime, but that's the rule. Now, in Germany, separately, they have parking rules, and you get encouraged to report violators of parking, snitching on them, saying, look, I saw this car. Now, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get the number of the car and report it and get a photograph of the number, and then they'll follow it up. Imagine having such a boring life that that's all you'd have to do. I knew an inspector and a sergeant in the guards who used to be given out to me. One of them worked with me for not being diligent enough. I wasn't very big into catching everybody. If I could let a lad off with a bit of a caution, sure, maybe I would have not done. But anyway, they went into the nursing home with bad health. And the two of them used to be out on a West of Ireland town, noting the tax discs and putting in reports to the superintendent about untaxed cars. And they were retired 15 years, 10 to 15 years. Imagine. Anyway, this guy took the photograph, but what he didn't spot was he also took the face of the driver. He took it from the front, and he reported, And when the thing was processed, the driver of the car complained that his photograph was being held on that for his phone and he didn't know where it was, and under the Data Protection Act he was entitled to some recompense. The German court forced the man that took the photograph to pay €100 to the man who was illegally parked and €800 expenses. That's a fact. I have that well researched. That happened. Anyway, that'll do. We have enough of that facial recognition for now. Now, in Berlin, the national broadcasting station was stormed by pro-Palestinian protesters. Big disruption. And a Jewish Jewish-involved concert in Paris was also attacked. There was no violence. They went in and they occupied the place. In the case of Germany, they wouldn't go till the police forced them out. And in the case of Paris, there was a big standoff. And this is a copycat of what's happening in the United States. And now the people are looking at this, that this is all organised, that all these protests are organised. And George Soros has been named, and President Trump, and I think the Hungarian government are investigating the possibility that Soros and his organisation are organising all these protests. So there'll be a bit of heat held to his feet now for a while. Okay, so the other thing then is that the COP30 climate summit is on in Brazil. It's on in Brazil. And our Taoiseach Micheál Martin said he'd go. I'm going to go. And he said Trump and President Xi of China is not going, but I'll go. So he's going to punch above his weight. Good on you, Paddy. Good on you, Paddy. Now, Merckx has already pledged 131 million to Pakistan Green Energy, which is windmills and solar panels. So you have Germany paying 131 million to Pakistan solar panels. But the funny thing is that Merckx, Chancellor Friedrich Merckx, flew all the way to Brazil and shook all the way, got the coffee, tea, had next thing there was a bit of a dinner. He got a bit of steak and a bit of our custard and cream and all, and they were expecting him to have a fun now to save the Amazon rainforest. Now, this idea of having to bribe Brazil to protect their own pristine rainforest is a bit much. However, I have a soft spot for native people, and particularly the Amazon. It is an amazing, amazing place. It's a treasure. Let that go will be very bad. But anyway, I'm trying to do something about it, and I'm not going to say yes or no. If it works well, sure, good enough. Maybe sometime I'd go to see it or something. But anyway, Merckx having given the 131 million, which is not a lot now, to Pakistan. They asked him to make a contribution to the fund, and he says, I have no money at all. And he's given them absolutely nothing. Now, Brazil is putting up $1 billion, Indonesia's putting up $1 billion, and Ireland's putting up 225 million euros. So Martin is throwing the money around him over there. Trump has given nothing, and Merckx has given nothing. And I don't think China are involved there at all. I can't say. We'll find out more on that. So the next thing then is the UN Secretary General says that there'll be a 2.8 degree increase in global temperatures by the end of the century. And I can't see it. Where's the evidence? There's no debate on it. Who knows? How can you predict the weather? What happens if it's actually minus 2.8 degrees? If it's down 2.8 degrees, will he take accountability? Who will take accountability in 80 years' time? And surely if the emissions that's gone up now are going to change the weather, then our weather should be changed by what happened in 1940. So was Britain and America right to fight Hitler when you consider all of the emissions that it would have caused? Anyway, we wonder. But Macron flew over as well. So I'd say they all flew on separate planes. Merckx went in one. I'd say they wouldn't get on well together. Now the only two that does, Macron gets on well with Starmer, and they were going somewhere. Who was it? Merckx was with him, and they had an old white bag with white powder. Sugar, it must be sugar. It must be snuff. I know, I'm having a bit of a sniff anyway. We're caught on camera, so they do get on well in some ways. But anyway, they all flew over there. Desperate amount of carbon emissions. And Macron was working on the plane. He knows a chief over there called Rooney. Rowney is his name. And he's a chief of an Amazon basin tribe. You may have heard of the last headhunting tribe of the Amazon basin. God be good to John Kenny, the Unbelievables, and Pat Short. They had the two old boys in the local shop watching the last headhunting tribe of the Amazon basin. So anyway, Macron was in touch with him apparently while he was flying over, and he was bragging about this chief he knew. Now, I have a soft spot for those natives in both North and South America. I find they were fascinating. I went over to see them in 1999 in North America, in the Dakota Territory and Wyoming. Anyway, that's another day's work. So that's that now. And Micheál Martin says Ireland's emissions actually fell. How do they count them? Do they count the 56 lorry loads of diesel that burn every day to keep the lights on? I see no reduction in any transport, in any, electricity generation. And they're going to save the rainforest, and they're bringing the wood chips from America, I don't know if it's North America, over to burn in Drax in England. They're burning them down in Moneypoint. So while they're talking about saving the rainforest, they're chopping down the trees like there's no tomorrow in North America and bringing them over here to burn as certified renewables. That's what they'll probably agree to. They'll probably pay Brazil billions to get their trees and burn them in a power station and then call it green. They're fit for anything. Meanwhile, on the windmills, Judge Humphreys was dealing with a judicial review, and he said that the noise at 800 metres is just like a washing machine. It's nothing. It's just like a washing machine. So clearly Judge Humphreys would be quite happy to go to sleep at night with a washing machine in his bedroom. I can tell you, here in my case, it's a lot worse than that, although they're a lot nearer me. But it just shows you, if you took a case on a nuisance, you never know. It depends on who the judge you get. You could never be sure. So that's the story. Now, Trump has also said that in the case of the money that Obama gave the Paris Climate Summit after the climate meeting in 2015, that it can't be found at all. Nobody knows where it went. There's no check up on it, nothing. Now bear in mind, the EU never had an audited budget. Never. So this money's been flung around, nobody knows where it goes. Does anyone follow it up? Who got that money? Who did they give it to? The mind boggles. And Micheál Martin, who will he give the 225 million to? Who will he actually give it to? Would it be some logging company? Nobody knows. He doesn't know himself. Now, another thing is there's a G20 summit, and that's a sort of a industrial environmental summit, and there's 20 countries, and South Africa is one of them. He's not going to go. He says he's not going near it. We're not having anything to do with it. And the reason is, and he's right in this, South Africa is driving out the white farmers. Instead of letting them farm away and have their lives and employ the locals and redistribute some land here and there, they did like Mugabe did, they persecuted them. And some people have said they deserve nothing, they have no right to be there. But at the same time, wouldn't it be just a simpler thing to let them farm away, and as long as they do the thing right and grow food? But what they're doing is, the government is not attacking white farmers, but they're doing the very same as the Ukrainians did when the Russians in Odessa was being attacked. They let the mob loose and the police doesn't intervene. So that's how they're doing, and the white farmers are fleeing to America. And it's a pity in a way. I don't see what it benefits South Africa to persecute and rob its food producers when they're there and only too happy to keep working. No, they let the local black Africans rob them blind or take their land, kill them, mutilate them, shoot their families, and then the police won't come out. That's the reality of it. And that's what the South African government is is deliberately done. So anyway, the thing is, he's not going there, and I think he's right. And anyway, South Africa is a member of BRICS, deliberately trying to undermine the United States. And we have the EU giving money to South Africa, and they have their own way to undermine Europe and the United States. I mean, there's neither head nor tail. Now, there was a story going around, and it was on the Duran and Alex McCurris, and he's very good about that Trump threw Orban under a bus, and that he allowed some trading to take place for some German power station, but he wouldn't allow it for Hungary. So he has some kind of a sanction that affects the Hungarians a bit. So they were saying like that was Trump had no thanks for Orban backing him up. But however, Orban visited Washington during the week and had a tremendous reception and a tremendous meeting with Trump. So I actually personally do not see any cooling of the relationship and the admiration for both among the two men, Orban and Trump. I don't see it. Now there was a poll published today that if there was a general election in Britain in the morning, Starmer, the Labour Party, lose all seats. They'd get no seats at all. So good that is. Well, certainly not doing so well, but he ain't going to go. I'm telling you, he's there for 3 years, and even though everyone hates him, how are they going to get him out? I don't think they will. Right, folks, that's that. That's really that. And who is better it's getting? So, a question I would put to them, and they have always said, these great and the good, that we need to depopulate the earth and depopulate the countries. They're doing a good job at depopulating the Irish people, but they're replacing them with migrants. So what's the point in destroying the local population, leaving them that they have to go, and bringing in migrants from all over the world? So they have never explained that. And these migrants that come in here, they burn fuel, they smoke cigarettes, they do all the things that we do, and in fact they can't wait to get the car, and sometimes get out on the road and kill people because they're not good drivers. And so they never explain that point. So of course, if they can keep people living with their parents, you'll have less emissions and less heating for houses. There's 16,000 people in Ireland on the waiting list for public housing, and they're bringing in thousands every week into it to fill hundreds anyway, thousands every month, and to fill in and take up any houses there are. That's unfortunately a puzzle. The most important thing for Micheál Martin is they'll not get him out of there, and I think it's great to keep him in as Taoiseach, keep him there. It will stop some people from voting for him, but unfortunately we still have our neighbours who are going to vote Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin, no matter what happens, no matter how serious, how starving, how hungry, how cold they are, and to see their children having to go. You remember Percy French had a song, they'll be cutting the corn in Chrysler today. The young lad was going out on the ship to America, and he was looking at a nice evening. He looked over at the headland of Donegal, and he was thinking, they'll be cutting the corn today, and he was homesick. And here it's happening again, and those people who are cutting the corn and seeing them going off will still get the pen. Oh, I'm a greyhound. Fianna Fáil means 1, 2, 3. And then I'm a greyhound, Fianna Gael man. 1, 2, 3. Sinn Féin, get the Brits out, out they'll go. Oh, I will get a United Ireland. 1, 2, 3. They'll be cutting the corn in Chrysler today, and the youngsters will have nothing. That's what that climate is. What relevance is it to people who can't get even the basic necessities? Will they do without it themselves? No. They have great times with it. They're getting beef, lamb, chops, chicken, scrambled egg beyond in Brazil. Now the Australians is into this climate stuff too, and they're going to do the Liberal and all. They're sort of socialist over in Australia. But one of the things that's happening in Australia up to recently was big time. They're pulling out the iron ore by the hundreds and thousands of tons. They're shipping iron ore out mainly to China. Now, China gets that iron ore. They process it into iron and steel, and they burn a lot of carbon, a lot of electricity making products. Why doesn't Australia forbid the export of iron ore? Wouldn't that solve the climate change thing and be a lot better than giving hundreds of billions to some kind of a fund or to Obama's fund or whatever? Would that not be a good idea? Okay, folks, comment underneath. And the other point it just occurred to me here, the COP30 summit is only partly on. It's going on for another week, and yet they're talking now about the G20. They're getting ready for it. So it's summit. And I know from my past experience, I used to go to unions meetings, and this time of year they'd have dinners and meetings, and there'd be dinners and everything, and we'd be passing motions and passing this and go to the annual conference. But alongside of all that is a massive feed of food. Good food, the very best of food, and drink, and all the wine and everything you could have, and music and dancing. And I have no doubt that a big of the attraction for Never Hear Keir Starmer, Micheál Martin, is, oh, there's great fun. Oh, I feel great now. I'm here representing Ireland, and oh, look at all these people here. They should stick Uncle Sam on Martin's shoulder here, and President Z, the Chinaman here. He's representing them two countries as well, according to his own deluded head. He's a head, yes. The longer he's there, the better. I'd say he's that bad that some of the Fianna Fáiles will not vote for him. I'd say that's the way it is. Let's hope he stays. We'll have more fun to poke at him. Bye-bye. We'll see you back soon. Thank you.